Well, a good way to start thinking about designs and forms is to look at what it was already there in the past. So take the thing that is closest to us, which is the Ottoman Empire, and have a look at the Kapalı This is a very good example of how it was organized. The typical marketplace is a covered place. It's a covered marketplace. It has areas dedicated to storage, that they pay rent, that it is income for the marketplace. It has services, both provided to traders in terms of small manufacturing, such as labeling or packaging, or a small manufacturing, small assembly, not heavy. But for example, some forms of workshops regarding some tailoring, not full tailoring, but kind of finishing tailoring. And there were workshops like a shoe, this kind of shoes they have in Morocco, very simple to make. So that was also in the marketplaces. And they pay rent. The workshops pay rent. They fabricated and they sold inside the marketplace. It was convenient for them to fabricate on demand. The customer could have the babusha that he wanted, exactly the way he wanted, the color he wanted. So that happened that way. And especially tailoring and shoes, there was a number of industries that they were allowed. Then there were services provided to the general public. There were certain monopolies that the government kept for themselves, which arguably is not really the right thing to do, but it could in the present circumstances where you are forced by law to having to negotiate. And you are asking me of how do we do things now. For example, we have done studies in Switzerland about how to run a marketplace, and we calculated revenues on the basis of volumes almost identical to large malls today. And we went as far as getting a grant granted by the Swiss government on doing this study. And one of the things that we realized, we can improve the revenues almost enormously to make viable almost any condition of entrance into the marketplace, was with the food. If you keep the food as a monopoly of the market administration, your revenues go to the roof. It's because, surprisingly, to have on the basis of 6.5 million visitors a year, just providing food and beverage for that is already enough revenue. How do you guarantee the coming of the people? By offering free marketplace, simple as that. It's as if you lure them to your big restaurant. Of course, that's not what we are doing, but in terms of income, you have alternatives. While you keep everything for free, you just keep one or two things. This is if you want to overcome things like, for example, the fact that the government is not going to be there to help you or to give you the land. You have to buy it. So you have to make something viable. The design, it will vary in relation to Kapalı, but certain features will remain the same. Caravanserais, you need caravanserais. There must be an area of the market that is continuously free and available to people coming from elsewhere. Not just anybody coming from elsewhere, but organized caravans. That means your marketplace is colorful and changing every week. Every time you come, there is the caravan of China, the caravan of this. Imagine what it would have been in those days, going to the market of Istanbul. The first thing I would want to go is to the Caravanserais, the 23 of them, to see where they have come from. You will have direct producers coming from China, from Thailand, from the city of this, the city of that, the city of that, coming to your marketplace directly to you. I mean, it cannot be cheaper than that. Exciting, interesting. Compare that to any supermarket. Nothing can be compared with that. Why the caravans will come to your marketplace? Because it's free. That's a very good incentive. And you give them access directly to the customers without any constriction. They come to your marketplace, then how does it benefit the people in your marketplace? Because the goods, they go. But you can pick up some of the goods. You become agent of some of the products that they have. You establish relationships. Traders are an asset. Every society who has welcomed them become richer. So design again. You need caravanserais. You need the division between the different guilds. You don't put the perfume with the meats and like Harrods. You've been in Harrods in England, in London. It's a big building, but you have sections. You go here, there, tons of sections, and in 6 or 7 floors. So you have to divide every area, and then regulations. There are certain regulations that they are generic to the marketplace, like for example, those provided by the muhtasib, who cares about the application of Islamic law in terms of scales and following of the rules of the markets, and haram and halal, etc., etc. And then you have internal rules that they have to do with each one of the sections of the marketplace, which relate particularly to the question of basic adab, number one, and second, the quality of the goods. So the people who determine quality check on the products of the marketplace, which is very important, it was very important to us, is done by the guilds themselves. Of course, that needs a double check, because otherwise the guild makers will say, only our products are good enough. When this thing happened, by the way, because they couldn't prevent anybody from selling in the marketplace, but they could send him away from the guild of, for example, bakers. They're selling bread. But if your bread, you can produce a bread and you can come and try to sell with it, but you have to pass a quality test, you have to get a masterpiece. If your bread is not good enough, you cannot sell it. But you can sell it in the junk section of the marketplace. No, the open section where you can sell anything you want. But the people come to you and they already look at what you are doing with careful eyes, right? So there is a junk area in the marketplace where just kind of everything else is sold. It's still regulated, but you could sell almost anything. And then another important thing about the marketplace, perhaps that we haven't mentioned, is location. Location is the most important thing. Location, they say about real estate, the same thing with the marketplace, is critical. It cannot be in the center of town, obviously, because of the traffic jams. It always had been in the outskirts of the city, close to the muros. Sometimes the marketplace had one extra muros, means they were outside the boundary of the city, and another part inside the city. Normally, the bulky things like food and large food in large quantities, animals, which it will be today, for example, cars, selling cars, it is done outside the city and occupies a vast space. And normally the marketplace, as the city grows, it keeps expanding from, as if it were, towards the exit. That's why in places like Isfahan, the marketplace is 2 kilometers long. From one side to the other is 2 kilometers, because it kind of kept stretching as the city grew, from one door to the other. The markets then, as they become bigger, they become specialized. So typically, it started in the center of the town, but it kept growing with specialities. The market of the carpets, the market of the shoes, the market of this, the market of that, the market of that. Every quarter in the Muslim city had its own marketplace. So the next question is size. If you are in the center of the major metropolis, you can expect a market of like 40 hectares, 50 hectares of covered market space, this kind of size. But then in every neighborhood, they will have a marketplace to satisfy the necessities of the locals without having to go out of the neighborhood. That was the logic of it. So mosque and market, it married like before and so on. This market was supplied by the main central market and so on. Designs, well, all kinds of designs. The second big distinction will be rural market. In other words, a market that is is being developed, or a market that happens in an urban setting. And it will have different characteristics, because one will be seen as Caravanserai only, and the other one will be a market with Caravanserais. The architecture is also interesting, and the way I see it, and this is the topic for tomorrow really, but is that we will develop consultancies. At least one group, start with one group that is a consultant on building public marketplaces. This consultancy has every city in the world with more than 10,000 inhabitants as its customers. and then you start providing the material. So in other words, we bring forward these ideas professionally.